Holla ballers, it's Preacher and we're rolling on the Mistweaver Monk. A lot of you have been waiting for this bad boy. Gotta say, I am kind of loving this right now. I really am enjoying my Mistweaver Monk incredibly. What I'm going to do is give you a brief touch on the changes you got for 5.3 and how that interacts with your gameplay. Then we're going to jump into some gameplay. I'm going to talk about what I'm thinking at the time, how I'm playing, all this kind of stuff. The Mistweaver Monk is kind of incredibly powerful. Even in early gear, when you start reaching mid-levels of gear, sort of top-end LFR, maybe Throne of Thunder, early LFR gear, even normal modes, that kind of stuff, you're going to see a huge dramatic change into how the Mistweaver actually interacts with itself. Not with everything else. The rhythm and the style of play actually changes, including how you set up your character, which is pretty cool. Now, big change was the fact that these abilities at your level 30s actually became free. Okay, these became free, so they're actually just free healing. Now, you might think, well, obviously they're going to suck, right? Absolutely not. Chi Burst and Chi Wave are generally the ones that healers roll with, depending on situations, are stupidly powerful. I just want to show you this here. This is one of the Grand Empress fights I just did. You can see Chi Burst there alone gave me 3 million healing. I got 3 million free healing, completely free, no big deal at all. The same goes for Chi Torpedo, okay? Stupidly powerful ability. Really recommend you guys get used to this crazy thing. Chi Torpedo came third on my healing there with a whopping 3.5 million healing just from free healing, okay? Those spells, both of those spells totaling nearly 6 million healing, cost me absolutely nothing, okay? And a wonderful way of making sure you keep those things on cooldown. Use some Tell Me When. We'll see that in the gameplay and so on and so forth. As you can see there, was dramatically on top of the healing there. 54k healing, HPS over a long-ass fight. Over a very long-ass fight, the Grand Empress. And that's cool. That's really cool. Some other things I want you to be aware of, things like Chi Brew. People are always looking for the best way of regaining mana as a monk, managing your mana. It's obviously very important as a healer. Fist Weaving is generally gone. It's extremely powerful in terms of what DPS it can contribute to DPS-related fights. If you're struggling for DPS, Fist Weaving actually does put out solid damage. There's no doubt about that. You can put out some crazy burst and you can contribute some form of the healing. Obviously depends on what the healing requirements are at the time. In terms of MP5, Chi Brew is generally the best mana restorer in the game. Remember, some people don't really know how Mana Tea works. Every time you spend 4 Chi, you get a charge of Mana Tea. So in order to really focus up and get a good mana return, it's all about managing your Chi. Unlike other healers who kind of stand around and go, oh, you know, I'm regenerating my mana. It's not the way Mistweaver Monk works. It's all about how efficiently can I generate Chi, in terms of how cheaply can I generate enough Chi, and then spend that on good healing, and then get Mana Tea back for it. So you'll find that the longevity of the Monk, pretty incredible. So far, Chi Brew tends to be the best MP5. It also puts out sick burst. You can chain together sort of 3 uplifts if you just use a Thunder Focus Tea. Tons of renewing miss on the whole raid, and then firing out uplift after uplift after uplift, or whatever else you want to spend that on. But you can actually put out tons of healing and get a good mana return for using a Chi Brew. Ascension can be good as well if you're not quite used to managing your Chi. The biggest thing you guys need to take into your Mistweaver Monk is the rhythm of the class, okay? There is a rhythm to this. In the early days, when we just launched with Mr. Pandaria, we were very heavily focused on setting things up to make sure we used our Thunder Focus Tea in the correct way and so on and so forth. There's a rhythm to it, and it's about generating Chi. Your Expel Harm and your Renewing Miss are 2 very important spells, and I seriously recommend you get some sort of Tell Me When or something like this to remind you. Once you start getting this right, keeping Expel Harm and keeping Renewing Miss on cooldown, which are very stupidly efficient ways of generating Chi, you'll actually notice that you have a ton more Mana Tea, and you have a ton more mana overall. And when it comes to setting up big burst healing, there's nothing to set up because you already have the maximum amounts of Renewing Miss already rolling on the raid, and therefore, boom, I can hit my Thunder Focus Tea, I can refresh them all, and I'm instantly in a position where I can do crazy amounts of healing, okay? Really cool. On top of that, you really want to keep an eye on your Chi Burst or your Chi Wave, whichever one you want it to be. Keep that on cooldown, completely free, make sure you use it correctly, and of course, your Chi Torpedo, very important as well. You can see the kind of healing I got from those there. So I'm going to jump into some gameplay now. I'm going to talk over what I'm thinking, what I'm doing. I absolutely adore this class right now. What I will point out is, 473 are massively overgeared. No, okay? I'm going to be doing, and this is completely true, you can army the character, I'm going to be doing all the gameplay that you'll see right now, including topping the meters against these guys. Were all very much overgeared compared to me. I'm going to be doing this wearing agility gear. Quite frankly, I have no other gear to put in that slot. So I have agility head, nothing to replace it. Agility shoulders, I believe I have agility braces, and the agility belt. I'm wearing 4 agility pieces right here, right now. Everything else is a combination of blues and LFR crap that I got in 1 week. This character was only capped the week before. And you can see he's got plenty of blues on there, plenty of blues flying around. Blues, and a little bits of odd LFR gear that we've managed to pick up from our coins. And he's just reforged, that's it. I was lucky enough to get my Sharp Touch weapon, be jelly. I've got Sharp Touch weapon and agility gear, whatever, right? If I could do it with 4 pieces of agility gear, you guys can certainly do better. Let's jump into some gameplay and see how this bad boy rolls. Okay, so jumping into your normal fights, the big thing, again, is to keep that Renewing Mist and that Expel Harm on cooldown. They're generating so much chi. And also get that chi burst fired off. It's just free healing, all good. One of the interesting things about the Mistweaver Monk when you're actually playing it in combat is you spend more time actually looking at your environment than you do at most other things, and that's because of the abuse of things like Chi Burst and Chi Torpedo. It's super important to make sure you know where you're looking, what you're looking at all the time, and where the hell people are stood, because you want to get the best out of these spells. It's not about being cheesy and padding out, but these spells work the best when people are in clumps. That's what your job is. That is your role as a Mistweaver, is to abuse the fact that people are grouped up. Again, quick reminder, this actual video is based on the idea that you've seen the 5.1 guide, and nothing much really changed other than the other spells becoming free. So bear in mind, if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and check it, and that thing's going to tell you how to gear up and glyph and so on and so forth. We're going to talk about the Manatee glyph very shortly here. So you can see that even in times of great stress, the Mistweaver Monk actually develops a really good thing. It puts out just enormous HPS, it looks after its mana by itself, and even in times of severe mana loss, which we're going to look at shortly, they still cope very, very well. So what I'm doing is I'm doing my best to keep those Renewing Mists and those Expel Harms on cooldown. And sometimes I miss them. That's because I'm not a pro on this. I've only been playing it for a day. But that's just the idea behind it, okay? And I'm working hard to do that. And you'll start feeling this rhythm, and when they're about to come off cooldown, just developing your muscle memory. It's like, oh, I'm pretty sure Renewing Mist is about to go off cooldown. I'm pretty sure Expel Harm is about to come off cooldown because I'm so used to pressing it. And you'll easily work into that. As you can see, I just used my Thunder Focus Tea. And that's because I didn't need to set anything up. The fact that we're keeping these things on cooldowns means that when we need to abuse our Thunder Focus Tea to refresh all our Renewing Mists and so on and so forth, it's ready to go there and then, and we can just pile it off. But you want to make sure you've got at least 6 Renewing Mists ticking whenever we do that. Now I want to show you this section of the fight where I have absolutely no mana, but we're also taking severe damage from throughout the raid, okay? We're getting AoE'd pretty heavily for an LFR raid for an early days healer, but the Mistweaver Monk still copes very, very easily. As you can see, I actually use a spinning crane kick there, something I haven't really mentioned, and it, again, is about your situation. If I have the whole raid gangstered up like that, I want to use that kind of spell. It is expensive, but the benefits really outweigh the cost, and I'm confident that with the way the Mistweaver works, I can actually regen that mana back and still get the best use out of it. I'm still attempting as best I can to keep those things on cooldown, generate a lot of chi. Unlike some healers who might be tempted to, I don't know, maybe quiet down throughout part of the fight, use cheaper spells, that's just not how this bad boy rolls. It's about, hey, how much can I generate some chi here and do it for a nice cheap way of doing it, and then I'm going to look after my mana with some Mana Tea, and that's going to keep me rocking and rolling. As you can see, really putting out great HPS even with very little mana. The switch over to longer fights like Grand Empress is even better for the Monk. It is. It's even better. You can see I'm down to about 50% mana there, maybe even 40%. And I'm still confident I'm still going to be using all my spells. There's literally no downtime. The downtime just does not exist. It's not the way to go. That's just not how it works. But again, I'm trying to observe where are the biggest clump of people to make best use of things like my Chi Torpedo and my Chi Burst. I generally like firing the Chi Burst at the tank because there's generally going to be a lot of melee groups around there, and I'm going to get a lot of benefit out of that spell. You can see the kind of burst heal we put out there with Revival and Uplift all mixed together. The Glyph of Mana Tea is an interesting one. A lot of people swear by it. I personally do not, especially in younger gear. When I'm in earlier gear, I just do not swear by it at all. If you're doing some LFR and normal content, there are definitely many opportunities, even in the heroic content, where you can actually find a few seconds of free time just to drink up your Mana Tea and get extra benefit from that. Remember, the Glyph of Mana Tea does share a cooldown, and it also has the added disadvantage, really, of using 2 charges of mana tea per one. But what you'll find as your gear goes up and you can be a little bit more spammy with expensive spells and so on and so forth, is you'll actually end up with so many charges, you can't really gain back all the mana you had, and mana tea actually becomes more effective to use in its original form. I leave that to you. It really is your decision. What I will say is this class is amazing. Absolutely amazing. The other last thing, one of the disadvantages, you're renewing Mist. So 25 man, you can realistically only get 9 up at a time, and sometimes, although the renewing Mist is a smart heal, it's not going to be on the right people at the right time, and that's where your things like Chi Torpedo and Chi Burst really come into their own to pick up that slack, because you will have those moments where, X has taken some AoE damage. I just don't have renewing Mist on them to make an uplift worthwhile, and therefore we have our burst healing like Revival, our Chi Torpedo and our Chi Burst to make up for that fact. But other than that, a combination of uplift to spend your Chi and enveloping Mist. You want to avoid surging Mist as much as possible. It's very mana inefficient. It really, really drains you very quickly, especially as it's spammable while you're casting your Soothing Mist. Be very wary about doing that, and pick your moments. You see that Chi bursting through the middle to try and get some casters and some melee in there. I hope this really helps you, okay? Get into the rhythm. Keep those things on cooldown. You're going to generate a lot more chi. You're going to get a lot more mana back for it. And you're really going to be sturdy throughout all your gameplay. Alright, guys? Remember, you should have checked the 5.1 guide for your gearing and so on and so forth earlier on. This is Preacher. See you later.